All right. Woo! We're talking ampersand today. This is exciting. How you doing, Pablo?
Doing well, and you?
Doing good, doing good. It's a beautiful day here in Abu Dhabi. I'm live from my hotel room. But yeah, excited to be here to talk about ampersand. I'm just going to be like sharing some links out here real quick, but maybe you can just like maybe introduce yourself real quickly. Just let people know like what you're working on, and yeah, give me a intro.
Awesome. Yeah. So my name is Pablo. I've been working at Agent Node for about 3 years, almost four now, I think. But yeah, I'm currently the engineering manager for the protocol and research team. Mostly, I've been working on the graph and its protocol, its smart contracts, and everything. But over the last few months, I've been building with our team, building ampersand, which we're going to talk about today. So yeah, I'm excited to show a little bit of what we've been working on.
Yeah, definitely. So what is ampersand? Give us like the high level elevator pitch. Like, why should people really care about ampersand?
Cool. Yeah, ampersand is, I mean, the very short elevator pitch is it's a wallet for agents and a dashboard for humans. We built ampersand as a tool for people who are building agents or who are building like services for agents. We saw that, x402 started getting traction, and like even before that, I think we've been thinking, agents and crypto and stable coins, like they're such a great fit, but there's a lot of infrastructure and the tooling for how you would build the agents and how you would see what the agents are doing and kind of get all of the funds flowing between your agent accounts, because we imagined agents are going to have their own wallet to some degree, and being able to have human oversight over those things is not quite there yet. So ampersand is there to sort of fill that gap and give people building agents and operating agents the visibility of what their agents are doing, what are they spending on, what are they earning, and the control for like how much they can actually spend or what they can spend on, and also being able to automate and make it a bit easier to manage those funds. If especially if you're not used to Web3 and crypto and being able to like easily fund your agents and make sure that they have the money that they will need to operate and to spend in whatever they're going to be spending. Um, so ampersand is there to make that easier, especially as people start building swarms of agents and having hopefully thousands and millions of agents operating on their behalf. And you know it's easy to control spending for one agent, I guess, and figure and look at what they're doing. And maybe if you're more familiar with Web3 and everything, you can go to a blog explorer or yeah and see what's going on there. But if suddenly you have 100 or 1,000 or whatever, and you need to, every month make sure that they're not, spending all of your money on silly things, then yeah, you need more tooling. And yeah, we're building ampersand to be exactly that.
Awesome. That's great. That's a good intro. I think it makes sense. Yeah, I was really excited, like just in general when X402 came out, because it's this like really cool reinvention of like the HTTP, 402 method, which has like just been sitting there waiting like magically to be reinvented into this protocol. And it's excited that, yeah, we're building some really cool stuff that's going to really give developers a lot of power and ability to, yeah, really like transact in this autonomous way for agents. So, okay, so maybe we could start out by you going into ampersand. Maybe you can give like your portion of the workshop. And then we also have an SDK, which I'm going to talk about. We're going to do a little bit of a demo on both sides, like the dashboard. And then I'll do a demo and workshop on the SDK. So do you want to go ahead and share your screen and take it away?
Perfect. Yeah, I'll do that now. So I'm going to show the ampersand dashboard, and for folks in the hackathon, this is where you would create the wallets for your agents and where you would see what the agents are doing, and you can control, set limits, automate stuff. So this is the ampersand like landing page. Here's where you can sign up for early access because it's currently a private beta. If you haven't done that yet, I think now's the moment to do it. We'll be keeping an eye out to give everyone access. And then this is the ampersand dashboard. You would previously log in I'm logged in here. And the way you would log in is just with your email. We are using Coinbase embedded wallets. So we'll be creating a wallet for you. And with that, we'll actually be creating a smart account for you. And that's what allows us to do all of the magic automations that we'll soon see. So this is actually my smart account. And because it's a smart account, like it's just a wallet. And here you can, receive funds into that main account, or you can send funds to that from that main account, as if you were, operating any other crypto wallet. You might see there's a few special things here where you can send money to an agent, or in the receive case, you can pull funds from an agent. And this is because in Ampersand, each of your agents, and an agent is quite a broad term here, I'll talk about it more, but each of your agents is also a wallet. It's also a smart account that can do like spend money, receive money, and they're all controlled by this account that you have based on your email. And that is completely self-custodial because it's all running client side here. We never see any of your private keys at all. We don't have control over that. So here I have 3 agents, and I said agent is a broad term here because an agent can be an actual agent that you build with LangChain, ADK, or Crew AI, any of the agent frameworks, or it can also be a server like an MCP server, or just an API or something like that. And part of this relates to the ampersend-sdk stuff that Kevin is going to show in a short while. And we're adding support for more frameworks and more ways of doing things with your agent accounts. But here I have these 3 agent accounts. Each of them is a smart account and a wallet, and I can have a really like simple bird's eye view of what my agents are doing. Obviously, like here, they're not doing a lot. I'm not going to be retiring anytime soon with what they're earning right now. But I can, like, if you had hundreds of agents and they're all spending and earning money every day, here you can see what happens every day. They spent in total like 7 cents, and they earned in total 7 cents. And what are the sellers that I bought services from, that my agents bought services from, and what are the top buyers that spend money on my agents or services. In this case, they match because it's actually the same, it's one of my buyers actually interacted with one of my servers or sellers, and that's why the numbers match, right? And actually, in the SDK examples that Kevin's going to show, we're actually interacting with these subgraph A2A server and MCP server, which are, in this case, it's an agent that provides data from the blockchain using subgraphs. And in this case, it's just an example buyer that was able to, purchase things like purchase blockchain data from that A2A agent. But when you look at any particular agent, there's more detailed information here of what that particular agent did. This agent has 93 cents in its account. This is the agent's address, so you can just send money here. And also you have, similar interfaces to the main account where this agent can receive money to its account. It can also pull from the main account, and it can also send money either to an external address or send back to the main account. So you can easily transfer funds between all of the different accounts that you have in Ampersand. They're all under your control because they're all controlled by your Coinbase wallet, embedded wallet, right? And here I can also see that this agent, this buyer, has done a few transactions. In this case, one of them failed. This was before we had the subgraph A2A server working properly, so that's why that happened. But if in production, you have an agent and something's going wrong, you will be able to see it here as well. With the payments, I mean. The agent here on this right-hand pane has a few automations, and I'm going to get into the detail of what these are when I show how to create an agent account. But there's one thing here that is the agent keys, and this is because this agent is a smart account. There's something that you need to plug into that ampersend-sdk. The private key that your agent is going to use to interact with that wallet and to be able to pay for things. And that key, because your agent is a smart account, it doesn't need to be like a specific private key and that's it. You could have multiple agent keys that you copy and you store. So if for whatever reason you wanted to have multiple agent instances all sharing the same account, you could do it like this. And then all of the agents would have a shared limit, a shared pool of funds that they can spend, or a shared set of configurations. But they are different private keys. So if you have this running in different instances in your infrastructure, you can isolate them, and it's a bit more secure in that regard. So this is what you see when you're looking at a particular agent, and in this case, it's a buyer. So like the net is going to be negative. It's just spending money. It's not earning any money, and you can see the number of transactions every day. If you created the agent and you want to look at how to actually set it up in your infrastructure, here's kind of some documentation that points you to how you would use the ampersend-sdk to configure this agent. It might be easier to just go to the ampersend-sdk README and docs and everything that Kevin is going to show you now. But here's like a quick reminder of, okay, this is the agent address, and these are the things that you would need to plug into your code. So now back to the main dashboard, and if you wanted to actually create a new agent account, and like in the hackathon, maybe you create one or multiple, some that might be buying things, some that might be earning because they're providing a service. You just give your agent a name, like Bob, and these are kind of the main automation and limits configuration that we have in Ampersend. The most important one, if your agent is a buyer, is going to be spending money, is auto top up, where you have your main account and you fund it with some USDC, or if it's testnet, and Kevin's going to show that like the Ampersend staging instance that uses testnet, you just use a faucet maybe, and you just send USDC to your main account, and then this auto top up will every day at midnight and make sure that if your agent has a daily limit of how much money they can spend during that particular day, and the auto top up will make sure that it's going to pull money from your main account into that agent account, so that the agent has exactly the daily limit amount, so that it can spend that amount, right? And all of this is configured with smart account modules, which means like when you configure these limits, there's something that happens on chain that allows that main account funds to be pulled permissionlessly, exactly as you configure them. So this is still like not giving anyone access to do anything in your smart accounts other than exactly what you configure here. And this daily limit is required if you have auto top up, because it is going to have this multiple meanings. One thing is it's what your agent can actually spend, and the ampersend-sdk will enforce this limit, but it's also this amount of money that your agent is going to have every day. And you can also set a monthly limit and a per transaction limit. And these monthly limits, like the monthly limit is going to limit this daily top up if for whatever reason you go over the monthly limit. So you said $1 per day and only $10 per month. After we've topped up $1 every day for 10 days, it's going to hit that monthly limit. It's going to say, no, you can't spend anymore this month. And the automation configured on chain will actually limit that, so your funds will not be able to be pulled from your main account to the agent account. But also the ampersend-sdk is going to be limiting this. So if for whatever reason your agent earned some money and it's got more money than it should have for whatever reason, it tries to go over the monthly limit, then the SDK, when your agent goes and tries to spend money, it's going to also stop it. And the per transaction limit, it doesn't affect the automation, but it does affect what the ampersend-sdk allows your agent to do every day. On every transaction, you can't spend more than 10 cents, and that's going to be enforced by the SDK. So these are these limits that should give you more peace of mind that, okay, your agent's not going to go and spend, like if you deposit $1,000 in your main account and you want your agent to only be able to spend a certain amount, that's going to be enforced by this. If your agent is a seller, then there's another automation that is auto collect. So for whatever reason, like this agent could be buying and selling things at the same time, or it could be, if it's only going to be earning money, if it's an MCP server, for instance, instead of an actual agent, then what's going to happen is your agent account is going to be earning money. Some people are going to be sending money to it through x402. And what you might want to do is actually collects, if you have 100 services, 100 agents that are making money in different ways, you want to collect all of that into a main account, right? So every day, also at midnight, the midnight UTC, by the way, and we can add more flexibility to that hopefully in the future. But right now, every day at midnight UTC, whatever money that your agent has earned that is over this reserve amount is going to be sent back into the main account. You can also set a threshold if you want to say, I really don't care about sending the money back to my main account unless I have more than $10 or whatever. But this is also going to be an on-chain enabled automation where every day, any money that your agent is earning is going to go back to your main account, so that if you have many agents and they're all making money in their accounts, you can pull that back to your main account to then maybe redistribute it with the auto top up, or just to off ramp that into your bank account or whatever. And this this auto collects also allows you to collect to a custom address. If for whatever reason you're earning money and you want to send your money back to your enterprise Fireblocks account, or you have a safe multi-sig where you keep all of the company's money or whatever, you can just send the money directly there. So instead of going back to your main account, you just send it out to wherever you want to then use your money or whatever. And there's another hopefully useful thing here, that is the seller allow list. This is also enforced by the ampersend-sdk, where you say, my agent is going to be buying stuff. I actually only wanted to buy stuff from the subgraph MCP server, or I only wanted to buy from, I don't know, some other specific MCP server or A2A server or API or whatever. If you know their wallets, you can plug it in there. This hopefully soon we're going to integrate ERC 8004, so you can actually choose agents based on how they're registered on chain, and you can see more information about them just rather than just adding an address here. And then finally here, we by default generate a first agent key, so you can just copy it here and plug it into the SDK, as Kevin will show soon. If you forget to do it or whatever, when you create the account, then you can just create others and delete the old one, like this one. This is just for convenience, because we assume that in most cases, if your agent is going to be spending any money, you're going to need this, and you can just save it at this point and just plug it into the SDK. But yeah, because as I showed in the agent accounts before, like if you forget the key, or if it gets compromised or whatever, you can just revoke it and it's not going to be able to interact with that agent anymore, and then you can add a new one there. So I think, yeah, that's a very quick, hopefully not too overloaded introduction to what you can do with the ampersand dashboard. And yeah, back to you, Kevin, unless there's anything else you think we should cover here.
No, yeah, I think it makes sense. You know what I think I love about ampersand so much is it has so much flexibility, right, for like the agents and the automation. And so I think that's one of the real benefits that you get with building with it. So yeah, great job. Very, very excited to see what people build with it. So yeah, so I think maybe we can just dive into the SDK and we can kind of talk a little bit about that. Yep.
Maybe one last thing that I would say is this is private beta because it's under very heavy development, and we're adding features all the time. So we are very eager to hear your feedback. If you tried, if you think I could use this other automation or this other chart or this other limit or anything, just let us know, and yeah, we'll love that feedback and hopefully be able to implement it very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think like the best way to reach out to people could be, you could reach out to me on Telegram. I'm Kevin Jones Creates. What other methods do we have for getting feedback from users?
Yeah, we have a Discord channel, I believe, right, in the Agent Node Discord. Yep. So I think that could be a good one. But yeah, other than that, I think Telegram, yeah, is a good one.
Yep, definitely. And I'll post that Discord in the chat here in a little bit. Cool, awesome. All right, well, let me start sharing here, and we'll get rocking on the SDK. So, as Pablo mentioned, like one of the core building components is utilizing the SDK that we built. We have two different implementations. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to go ahead and grab the repo, and I'm going to go ahead and clone it down here. So let's make this screen a little bit better. We're going to do git clone on this repo. We're just going to do, I don't know, my agent or something like that. And we're going to clone the SDK down, right? This is going to take a second, and we're going to go into that folder here. And we're going to use, I'm using dir env to basically do like environment variables, and I'm just going to allow this directory because we're going to want to have an env file in here for some stuff. So running dir env allow was going to basically just load in the environment RC file if there was one, and then it's going to load in the env file as well. So we're just going to have that loaded up, and then I'm just going to load this project so we can take a look at the source code here in Cursor. So yeah, so the SDK here that we have, make this a little bit bigger here so we can see. Let's close the AI chat. There's two implementations, right? So we have a Python implementation, and then we also have a TypeScript implementation. For the most of what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be showing off the Python because there's some code that we recently added. Pablo, shout out to Pablo, he added some example that showcases how to query the subgraph MCP server A2A agent that we're running. And it also showcases how to hook up your ampersend agent keys directly into the SDK so that you can build an agent that utilizes ampersend for its spending limits and all the stuff that Pablo talked about. So there's the SDK folder, and inside of there, you can kind of look at the source folder, and you can kind of explore around and get a feel for like the different components that we have. There's a concept of like a treasurer where you can basically, do authorization for spending and stuff like that. And there's also smart account integration so that you can either use an externally owned account or a smart account when you're working with the SDK. There's also the x402 implementation for the wallet. And so here's where we have the account for wallets and the smart account integration as well. And so you can kind of explore this and kind of go into it in more detail. We'll kind of look at it in more detail in a little bit, but it's just good to know that, yeah, this source directory is basically where all of the SDK source lives. Again, this is all Python. And then inside of this examples folder here, we have various examples of how you would implement this, right? So I think the one that we're going to be showing off today is the buyer ADK implementation, which is going to be here. And it's going to basically have all the instructions on how this is set up. And same thing goes for the TypeScript. So there's also a TypeScript directory. The TypeScript has a packages directory, and inside of there is the ampersend SDK with all of the source code for the TypeScript SDK. And same thing, there's also examples in there for the TypeScript as well. And those have the MCP server integration so that you can basically show off how to basically query to an MCP server via x402. And then we also have a LangChain integration. And we should be shipping the integration with the ampersend dashboard soon for that as well. So keep an eye on, we might do another video in either next week or the week after that goes into that. But we're going to be focusing, again, here on the Python implementation. And so inside of this examples, there's a README here. So we can go to that actually in the browser. So it's a little easier to read here. But this is going to walk you through like basically spinning up an example of the SDK in Python. You need to have Python version 3.13 installed, and there's a command to install that. If you don't know, with UV, you can use UV Package Manager to do it. You do need UV Package Manager as well, which is a really fast package manager for Python, really, really useful. And then if you're going to do the MCP proxy, you're going to need Node.js installed. And so we're going to go through here. So for in the case of what Pablo was showing was all the production ampersend stuff, we're going to utilize the staging environment, right? So we do have a staging environment. Let me stop that actually. We're going to load up the staging environment here into our browser, and we're just going to go in and log in. So similar how you log into obviously the main ampersend, we're going to do that. This is actually just automatically checking to see if I'm signed in, which I think it might actually just sign you in, right? I don't know. Is there authentication on this, Pablo?
I think you were already signed in, and that's why
I was already signed
loaded your account. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So you can see here, I previously did an agent. So what we'll do is we'll actually create a new agent. right here, click the little plus sign. We'll call this my agent, this. And we'll keep all the we'll keep the daily limit to $1. We'll do a monthly limit to $1 as well. And we'll be able to export the key here in a sec. So we will grab that. We can actually just grab it. We can just go ahead and copy it here and put it in a browser so we have it and don't lose it. But yeah, we're just going to generate this agent like we showed earlier with auto top enabled. We can do it per transaction limit if we wanted to, like of like 10 cents or something like that. Monthly limit, sure, $1. Daily limit, $1. Yeah, this is not too important. And we're not going to use any of the other stuff for like auto collect. And we're just going to create this agent account. Let's see if this works. So after we create this account, create an agent account, we're also going to need to get the account address and the session key. So we can come back to that here in a sec when we need to do that. See if it's still thinking. Oh, did it actually work? Let's see. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so now we have this my agent that we are going to be able to utilize, and we've already cloned down the repository. We already went into the repository. We're just going to run. Let me make this a little bigger as well. We're going to run UV sync inside this directory. So basically, this is going to install the packages. As you can see, it's super fast. And then we're going to need to set some environment variables. So we give you this kind of like example set of env files that we need to use. And so we can come in here into the Python directory, and we can just create a new env file here. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, we need to move it. Actually, it needs to be in this directory. So we'll do it here, new file, .env. And we will paste in this kind of like template. So basically here, we're just specifying that we want to use the staging, right? Because we're working in stage at this point. And then we need to put in the private key that we generated for our wallet, which we put right here in the browser. And we'll copy that, put that in. And then we need to get the public address for our smart account as well. So we can get that right, I believe, here. So this is the actually smart account wallet that was created, and we can paste that there. So now we have the public address, or the the actual smart account address, and the private key stored in the env files. And when we save that, if you don't have dir env set up, you'll need to run that again, and then this will load in the environment variables that we've specified. So in this case, I have those three, so it loaded them successfully. And then we can come back in here and keep going down, and we can run this like very basic example, which is like a kind of on the command line example of how we can interact with the subgraph MCP server A2A agent that we're running. And we can just go ahead and grab that and paste it in here. And it's going to basically compile that, make sure it runs properly, or build it, and then it's going to execute. So we'll take a second here. And yeah, as this is doing that, there are other examples too as well. So you can, it talks about how you would want to move to production. Obviously, you need to like use the production version of ampersand. You would need to update your API URL to the production one. And then there's also other examples here. So like we can actually show this off in a second, but you can use the ADK web if you prefer to open up in a browser. Okay, here we go. So we have this kind of like terminal experience where we can basically ask questions. So like, I think if we go here, like one of the questions that it suggests ask is, what were the last 2 ENS registrations? So let's paste that in. Let's hope this works. So this is basically going to make a request to the subgraph MCP A2A agent, and that's going to be responding with an x402. And then we can see that we got a response back from the buyer agent that we're running, and we can see here that there are 2 registrations for Sophie Retro and agent forecast.eth. So it got the data back and served that in the response. And then now if we go to the staging, we should be able to start to see that data, right? So here we see that there was a payment that was made for 1 penny. And if I asked another question like I don't know, what is the most recent ENS registration? Maybe we'll just ask for it again, see if there's been an update. There it goes. So it's the same one, but no one else has registered something yet. But we see that it's working, and so that's a pretty good, like, very basic example of how you would do that. We can kind of dive in a little bit more into the actual example and take a look. So if we go to the source and we go to the A2A and we go to the buyer and we go to the 80K, we can kind of take a look at what we got here. This is, so there's some kind of like prompt code that's in here that kind of explains how to set that up. It's kind of like a comment. But we can see here where we get in some environment variables for the smart account address that we set up. We also set some settings for the to use the naive treasurer. So there's different implementations of the treasurer. There's like the naive treasurer. And in this case, we want to say if there is, I believe this is saying if there is a configuration set up, we should actually utilize the ampersend treasurer, which will basically control the spending. And we have the ability to basically create the wallet here as well. And we utilize, in this case, a smart account wallet. So here we have this kind of like smart account wallet object, and you pass in the configuration for it. And you do that by passing in the session key and the smart account address that we set in the environment variables. And this will basically utilize the SDK to utilize the smart account that we have generated with ampersend. And then here's where we actually use the account wallet and pass in that particular account if we don't have a smart account. And then we have this treasurer concept. So the treasurer is like, yeah, basically like controlling like how the spending is happening. In this case, we are specifying what the API URL is, which is basically how the API call needs to be made to the ampersend to like verify if that agent is allowed to make that payment or not, if it's kind of like hit those thresholds that are configured in the ampersend dashboard. And then, yeah, we have this kind of like ability to automatically know where to get the data from. And so in this case, we're running the subgraph MCP server on this URL right here. And so this is where the agent is going to get the information that it needs. Obviously, this is the x402 enabled agent that is basically accepting payments and requiring in order to access it to get information about the graph. It's utilizing that endpoint. So very, very basic overview and example. I also created a, well, AI helped me create this kind of more in-depth Python kind of explanation of how the SDK works. So we can kind of briefly talk about this a little bit more. But yeah, so we have like different concepts here. We have this kind of x402 wallet, which is the interface for basically doing the signed payments. So if you need to basically like make a payment for your agent, you use that. We also have an explanation of the treasurer here that goes into more detail about how the treasurer works. And I will post this. Let me just do that real quick. I'll post it in the chat so everyone has it. And sorry, I went to the wrong tab here. Okay. And then we also have some examples here that show like how to use if you just wanted to use an external account, like if you didn't want to utilize the ampersend smart account, you could do that with this kind of like just basic account by passing in the private key. But this example shows exactly how we pass in the session key and the smart account address, right? And then we have this kind of like treasurer. So like this very basic naive treasurer, which basically the naive treasurer will kind of assume that you want to accept or make all the payments necessary that are required. Obviously for production, you wouldn't want to use that. You would want to use something like the ampersend treasurer, but we also support, so this is like the ampersend treasurer where you can specify that an API call is made to the ampersend AI API. And then, yeah, basically passing in the information to verify that, if the request can be made or the payment can be made. But we also support a custom treasurer implementation as well with the SDK. So like this is an example how you might have like your own logic inside of the SDK to have a budget for your agents, and you might do some like custom code in there as well for like how you want to allow your agent to spend. And then I think the best thing too would be to come down here to the full example. So this complete example is, first let's take a look at the seller agent. So there's an example here for a seller agent. So if you want to actually like have an agent that's providing a service and is, basically requiring a payment for something, you can use this before agent callback. And there you can basically pass in what the price is, like how much you want to charge, what network that you want to receive the funds on, and then where the actual payment needs to be made to. And so like in this example, we have a very basic like Google search agent that's just saying like, hey, responding with a Google search. Obviously, this is not something you would charge for, but it's a very, very good example of a basic tool. Obviously, you could replace this with whatever fancy tool you wanted to use. And then we have like the model and the description and instructions and stuff like that. And then the same thing goes for the buyer. We have an example in here that shows how you would utilize the ampersend-sdk just to do a very simple buyer agent. And so in this case, we have the smart account wallet, again, passing in the session key and the account address. We have a treasurer that we create that sets up basically based off the URL for ampersand and the session key, which is the private key. And then we have this kind of like remote agent, which is how we want to go out and get data from wherever. So this could be an agent living anywhere on the internet that needs to make, x402 access to whatever resource. So I think that's a really good high level overview of the SDK. Was there anything that you think would make sense to dive into, Pablo?
I think it might be worth briefly going through the local orchestrator agent example, because in this buyer example that you did, you're going directly to the remote agent. So the user's query is directly, paying through x402 to that remote agent over A2A. But we also have a local orchestrator example where there is actually like an LLM agent running locally, and it has access to tools that allow it to query a remote agent over A2A.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'll do is so I need to update, let me stop sharing this for a second. And what I'll do is I'll update the API, or sorry, the environment variables with the API key. So I have a API key for my Google API key, and then I have the pay to address. So let me update those real quick.
Right.
So basically what I'm doing, I'll show exactly what I'm doing here in a second, but I'm just doing it off screen so that I'm not exposing my Google API key. I'm being a good person here. Okay, all right, so we're gonna share again, entire screen. All right, cool. All right, so yeah, so there is another example, as Pablo mentioned, which I think does make a lot of sense to show. And this is like the first example, we were, querying the subgraph MCP agent, A2A powered agent that, was providing access to the subgraph data. But now we want to utilize a local example. So all I did was just added this additional API key for my Gemini so that I can provide access to a Gemini server, because I need to have both a seller and a buyer in this example. Okay, so first we can spin up sorry, it's here. So we have a seller example agent. Let me copy this real quick. So what we're going to do is run this. So this is going to run the example A2A seller for the ADK server that's inside of there on localhost port 8001. And then we're going to run the buyer in another terminal. Oh, I think maybe we might have an issue with. I need to also specify this pay to address, I think, right?
Yeah.
Actually,
you can also just use the default that is a subgraph A2A.
Oh, there it goes.
Yeah.
I needed to reload for some reason. I don't know why. Right. Sometimes during V it can be a little questionable.
Yeah.
All right, let's try this one. So here we go. And so I'm going to the same directory. dir env allow, just to make sure. Okay, so I have, this is the seller agent that I've configured, and we'll kind of dive into it in a second. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry. And then now we're going to run the buyer agents. So the difference is we're going to run ADK web here, which is nice to show off because if you haven't used Google Agent Development Kit, it's got a really, really cool tool called ADK web. And we're going to utilize this ADK application here. And we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to add, but this time we're just going to, is this the right one?
The other one, yeah, the local agent is the one that you're.
Local agent. And will this be the subgraph, or is it the Google search?
If you don't set the agent URL mvar, it's going to go to the subgraph remote agents.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. So we can ask the same question. So like, but it won't be, I'm not running the subgraph MCP, so I need to ask like a Google search question or something like that,
well,
right?
you're running the subgraph MCP, but your buyer is not configured to go to that. Sorry, your buyer is configured to talk to the subgraph A2A agent. It's not configured to talk to the local agent the local seller agent.
Oh, got you. Okay.
So there's 3 agents. One is the subgraph A2A agent that's already running in our infrastructure. Another is the local seller that you have, and the third one is the one that we're like the nice one for the example, that is a local orchestrator, and it could talk to both of them, but now it's configured to talk to only one of them. So actually, if you go to the example code, you might be able to modify it and add the local one. But if you wanted to use the local seller, you would have to configure. There's an example A2A buyer. I can send you the mvar exactly.
Oh, is this right here where we're basically overriding the agent URL?
Exactly, yes. Well, in that one, you would be adding a second remote agent, which might be even better because you could have both Google and subgraphs in the same agent.
Okay. But in this demo, I should be able to just ask like a Google search question and it should come back.
No, right now you should be able to ask a subgraphs question.
Oh, okay, great. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the most recent ENS registration? Let's see if it works. Fingers crossed. 402.
Oh, I think your Gemini key might be over the quota.
Okay. Yeah, we can fix that. I'll just delete this key after. I'll delete the key. I'll create a new one and then we'll just delete it after. Let's see here, get started. So this is actually good to show off. If you need an API key, you can go to the AI Studio on Google and you can basically create an API key here. If you already have one, you can copy it. We will call this example and we'll create a new project as well, just because I'll delete it afterwards. And create. See if that works. Create key. Okay, example. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so we'll go to the env file. I guess I'll have to create new keys for both of them. Okay, so now we might have to restart. Yeah.
Yeah, but not the seller. The buyer is the one that you.
The buyer, yeah.
Yeah, because the buyer is going to be, that LLM agent that's going to be running locally, and it has a tool set that allows it to talk over A2A to other agents and get information. And that's like, if you're building a buyer agent, that's what you would usually do. It's you do a local agent, that might run in your infrastructure or whatever, that is able to buy from other places.
Did I spell that right? Registration. All right, let's credit fingers crossed here. Oh man, I don't know why that's working.
I think, maybe if you create an API
maybe
key,
my
but
billing.
it's the same account as the whole, yeah, unless you add a billing account.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's weird. This was working. You know what I want to try to do is just I'll just remove my env file here. Oh no, that might not work either because I was going to say I could use my previous one that was working. Yeah, okay. Well, that should have worked.
Maybe I can run it as well. Yeah.
You want to try?
I think so. I didn't have it set up here
I
yet, I
didn't have it
think,
ready, yeah.
but yeah, I can try. Let me do this.
This was just working actually for me earlier, so what I was
think
going to do is maybe
probably just went over the quota. Let's see. So CD ampersand. Okay, so yeah. So here the command that I wanted, I think I had already configured the environment. Let's see. So I need to run the example from here. 1 second while I copy. Local orchestrator is here. Yeah, the web example. So let me see if I had this configured already or not. So now I have the agent running here. Oh, and actually now I should share another window.
Share the other screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. This is the demo
Yeah.
gods there.
And I have this, and I have the local agent here. So hello, friend. Let's see first if the agent itself is working.
Oh.
No, I don't even have the private key example or anything. Yeah.
Do you want me to give you my private keys and a message? Maybe you could try that.
1 second. No, I think I have one. Export private key address. And just 1 second. I just need the URL. Yes. And I'm going to run the example again. Now I'll read on the page. And hello, friend. Okay. So the agent, yeah, it's going to query, okay, what A2A agents do I have available? And the agent knows it can delegate tasks to the subgraph agent. So now, okay, so what are the last 2 ENS registrations? And it's very similar to the other example, but now we're actually running an agent here in my computer, obviously talking to the Gemini servers to actually run the LLM, but this agent is going to be able to say, oh, for this question, I need to go to the subgraph agent and ask for questions. And now it got the data, but it got it by talking to that agent. And this local agent is using the ampersend-sdk to pay for that data from the subgraph agent. So in the example that you were running, you were also running a second server, and that seller could be added as an additional tool. So actually, if we go to the SDK here, the examples, the local orchestrator, the local agent, in the agent on Pi here, it's a bit like it looks similar to the code that you just showed, Kevin, where you have the smart account address, and like if you wanted to use it standalone without ampersand, you would use an authorizer and an EOA. But with ampersand, you use the smart account address, the smart account private key, and the ampersand API. So we built that wallet that is ampersand enabled. And instead of creating an x402 remote agent, we create a remote agent toolset. And this agent, this local agent that is the orchestrator, has the toolset in its set of tools. So if you added 20 remote agent URLs here, each of these is an A2A agent that serves data and accepts payments with x402. then here with this tool set, you're giving your local agent the ability to talk to all of them and to delegate tasks to all of them. So yeah, that's kind of the core idea of this local orchestrator example.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you for diving into that. Cool. Glad that we worked through the demo. Sorry that I had issues. I need to make sure I have a fresh API key next time. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think this was a good overview. I think it's probably a lot of information for people. We're going to be doing an office hours like right after this where people can ask questions in the Discord. So it's the Edge and Node Discord, and we'll be posting that in a link here on our Twitter. So if you need that, just go ahead and hop in there. But yeah, any final thoughts, Pablo, before we hop off?
No, thank you. I think, yeah, this was fun. I hope it was not too much information, but yeah, eager to answer any questions in the office hours. And if you tried and have any feedback, again, yeah, we'd love to hear it.
Awesome. What kind of projects are you most interested in seeing people build? You got any cool ideas for people?
Well, I recently heard that I think Near team are already doing one that I really wanted to see. That was like a travel booking agent where you could just ask the agent to book flights for you or something like that. But any ideas that are kind of like that are not necessarily like a Web3 crypto trading kind of thing, I would be super excited to see things where like agents can help you with real world tasks and just charge for it over x402 and serve it over 828. I think something like that would be beautiful to see. But yeah, I think, yeah, there's so many other things that could be built. So yeah, I'm just curious what people will think.
I heard another good one. Someone was talking today at the booth about how maybe like a lot of websites are kind of like anti-scraping for bots. Like they don't want people scraping the information. So it'd be really cool if you had like an MCP or x402 enabled for like certain assets on your site, where you could just charge, and you basically, you know, in the future, there's probably not going to be a lot of ad revenue, right? Because computers are going to be doing all the scraping and calls. So if you had some way to like monetize your data, you know, something like the Wall Street Journal or news sites or, you know, whatever, you could basically do x402. So that would be kind of cool, as like paywall for existing sites or something like that, like a x402 proxy.
True.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. And any API, like actually, if you have any API that you currently sell through an API key, you can just convert that to an MCP server or an A2A agent that queries that API and serve it over x402. I think, yeah, that's going to be the explosion that we're going to see soon. I think that is like anything that right now you need an API key to buy and you need a human in the loop could be converted to an agent doing the same work and not needing an API key, it's just a wallet.
Yeah, kill the API key.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Pablo, for your time. It was a great demo, and it was good seeing you as always. And everybody out there, good luck on the hackathon, and excited to see what you built. So see you guys.
Thank you. See ya.